and a movie that a lot more people checked out.
Yep.
Mission Impossible Fallout. Loading up the fist. Let's go.
That was improvised, apparently.
Really?
Yep.
Well,
yeah.
I think we can both agree Henry Cavill was fantastic in this, but
I think this is easily his best role. He was fantastic.
I agree. Do you think it was better than the CGI Superman lip from Justice League?
I think, was that mustache necessary to his role as whatever his name was, Walker?
100% yes.
No, but did he keep it in Rocket? Fuck yeah. No, I was really impressed with Cavill. But yeah, overall, this movie, you've been seeing the hype. I think it has, last I checked, 248 positive reviews to 7 negative reviews. So like we said a little earlier, that's consensus from the critics. It also has a series high A cinema score and a series high with the box office, $61.5 million first week. And one last thing, it also has a better audience breakdown, 55% male, as opposed to Rogue Nation, which was over 60. So that's a better thing to see in terms of a more broad audience. So I think people were excited about this movie, and it delivers. It's one of the best action movies I've ever seen, I think, bar none.
Do you think the people that wrote the 7 bad reviews didn't know what movie they were going into?
Yeah, I'd actually love to read them, just because you always see that, right? Like someone gives any movie that's not Oscar bait a bad review for something obvious and dumb. It's like, yeah, we know who Ethan Hunt is. Yeah, maybe he's still not the most layered character in the world.
Right.
It's not a negative to literally anyone who watches this film. That's not why we're there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to follow up on that and see what the hell they said.
Yeah, so this is Mission Impossible 6 movie. It's over a 22-year span, starting in 1996. Mission Impossible, the first one, came out, which, at the time kind of caught Cruise at the peak of his career. He had just it was it right before or just after Jerry Maguire? I'm forgetting.
Just before. And he also then did Magnolia and Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
So it's funny because, obviously anyone who knows movies knows 80s Cruise was awards baity, right? A Few Good Men and Born the 4th of July and
Rain Man.
Yeah, of course. And that's obviously following up the blow up with Risky Business and then Top Gun, right? But he stride away from the action stuff after Top Gun. And then Mission Impossible comes out, from Brian De Palma, of all people, too.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, now Cruise, the biggest movie star, is finally going to do movie star movies. But then he goes and does Magnolia and Eyes Wide Shut. And it's interesting just because, up until now, he hadn't been really playing into that. But then you look at his filmography after Mission Impossible 2, which came out in 2000, where the series gets more action-packed. The first one's more espionage, right? And then he starts making all these action movies, and that's just who Tom Cruise is now, right? He kind of started doing the Liam Neeson career thing before Liam Neeson did, which I think is kind of funny. But I think this is perhaps the best. Is definitely the best, stab he's done at this so far.
Do you think Mission Impossible is the best franchise or movie franchise out right now?
Yeah, I saw some of those takes going around. If you were going to say best action franchise, I think probably yes, just because if you think about the action franchises, the most successful one is Fast and Furious. But I think the Mission Impossible movies are by and large better.
Definitely.
I like Fast and Furious. I find them very entertaining, but there's a lot more going on in Mission Impossible. And after that, what action franchises do we have? We have a lot of stuff that's continued from the 80s, like Die Hard or Predator, but a lot Terminator. A lot of those series still have a lot of low points, a lot of bad films. And Mission Impossible, the worst ones, 2. I think most people would agree, is 2, and that's still watchable, still entertaining. Right? It's not like that's Terminator Salvation. So
it's interesting because 2 actually probably had more of influence on what the films are now than
definitely
1. John Woo really brought this action-packed, Cruise hanging off the cliff in the first opening scene. So it kind of set the table for what these movies, the direction they'd overall become. And the scope of it really is 1 was this great beginning. 2 kind of brought in like the huge stunts, and then 3 through 6 have all just got kind of built on themselves, getting better and better, finding the correct pacing, finding like a suaveness to it. You know, you think about like Nation probably being the epitome of that, where they're in the tuxedos in the opera.
That scene's dynamite too.
Amazing. Just fantastic. So it's gotten better and better, and it's kind of almost amazing because Ghost Protocol, I mean, I'm thinking about where these movies kind of fall in like my rankings, and like I think like Ghost Protocol is just above Rogue Nation, and Fallout's probably my number one, but all three of those at any point you could really put over the other, I think.
Yeah,
what you like.
And to keep going, I mean, Mission Impossible 306, that's J.J. Abrams' directorial debut. Ghost Protocol 2011 finally comes back. It comes back, and after like a contract negotiation, Cruise gets back into it. And that's by Brad Bird. Yeah, it was his first movie stepping away from animation, right? Post Incredibles. And then Rogue Nation 2015, that's Chris McQuarrie. And, you know, Chris McQuarrie had helped like rewrite Ghost Protocol. And he comes in now and he does Rogue Nation himself. And I think I have Rogue Nation just ahead of GP. But again, they're close. They're both great. And then Chris McQuarrie comes back for Fallout. He's the first returning director in this series of 6 movies, which is pretty unheard of. I mean,
he's worked with Cruise a lot, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's worked so much stuff, whether it's directorial debut or he wrote the script or he worked on the script of Fish, whether credited or uncredited. He's worked on him with a ton. And it's, you know, we said whether it's the good franchise, I think it's like the 26th highest grossing franchise in the world. Like the 3 Iron Man movies have grossed more than the 6 Mission Impossibles, for example. Yeah. And despite that, yeah, I think it's the best action franchise. I wouldn't say it's the best franchise overall, but yeah, it's so weird that like it keeps getting better like this. And it's not like Fast and Furious, where Fast and Furious is getting better because it's getting more ridiculous and more absurd. That's not not what Mission Impossible is doing, because Fallout, again, we'll get to the movie in a second. Fallout like is so tactful and smart with its frenetic pacing and its set pieces that it just seems like it's like peak blockbuster filmmaking. You know, no one would say Fast 5 is peak blockbuster, despite the fact that I think it's fantastic. You know, so really impressed, and it's really a fascinating series to kind of, you know, take a step back and like look and see how it's progressed.
And like I mentioned before, it embraces what it means to kind of be a movie that you can suspend belief. You can go and just tell a story and have fun. You don't need to, not everything needs to make sense. I mean, you can see Ethan basically get blown up and thrown into a car, and he's just like walks away, gets up 2 seconds later. They're, you know, they wear these ridiculous masks, like even in Fallout, when, I mean, like spoiler, there's a part where, I mean, there's so many like just outlandish and ridiculous things, but it just works because they set the tone that you're just coming in, just enjoy the movie, just enjoy the stunts, and that's really what you come for. I wonder if, you know, going back to those negative reviews, if people were like, that there's no way that a mask could be that realistic, or like I would love to see like that sort of stuff, whatever their complaints are. Why don't we jump into Fallout specifically, though, because I think we've given enough of our take on it. I mean, this movie, it's number 1 at the box office right now, 61.5 million domestically, 153.5 million worldwide. We told you 98% Rotten Tomatoes. People like this movie a lot. And I think if anything, it's Cavill's performance. It's the fact that they really give a lot of people different time to shine. But the set pieces in this are amazing, just unbelievable. I mean, there's a bunch of them to pick from, but which one was probably your favorite?
Right. And I think what's so impressive about the movie is that it's long. It's like, what, 2 hours, 20 minutes? It does not feel long because of the pace, because of the number of set pieces, because of just how blatantly entertaining it is at all times. I mean, and it starts off so well. Like, you have that Halo jump, which Cruise actually did. He, between practice jumps and getting the shot right, he jumped 106 times out of the plane, which is insane. You know, no green screen. There's a cameraman jumping with him, really close to him, filming it. Like, you read about how they had to like get that in focus, and they had to put lights in his mask so they could see his face, obviously, because it's a movie.
Right.
And I mean, that scene was awesome. And then, and you remember when the tube came out for his oxygen? That was the real tube as well. Like, there was no, like, that was the real oxygen he needed. And after that, you have the fucking bathroom scene, which where that Asian actor, I don't remember his name, but he kicks Cavill and Cruise.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And that's funny because like we didn't really know what that scene was per se, because all we knew was we had the, you know, Cavill pumping his arms up, right? It was becoming a meme. But, you know, it's kind of like people are asking to do it the way like people are asking Chadwick Boseman to do Wakanda Forever, right? And then to have that scene, which we don't really know what's happening in the scene from the trailers. We think maybe Cruz is fighting Cavill already, and it's so frenetic. And I think what's just cool about this movie is that Cruz throughout it, Ethan Hunt, you see Ethan, he is older, he's a little slower, and he's low key washed, getting his ass kicked a few times. And I mean, that scene was killer.
Yeah. Oh, the choreography in that scene. I mean, if it's not up for an award, that's a travesty. Because like the way that they use that pipe at one point, and like he swings and the guy catches it and like flips him around, I was like, that scene did not disappoint. And then, you know, like the way that they had to cover it up, and you know, you have Rebecca Ferguson's is it Ilsa? Yeah, come in and save the day. Just an amazing scene. And we didn't even talk about you know, like the helicopter chase. Like you have the jump, but like the helicopter chase at the end in was it Kumar or
Kashmir, northern India? Yeah,
which I mean, just unbelievable. If I didn't see this in IMAX, I'm guessing you probably didn't, but everybody I've heard that seen in IMAX was like in awe of this.
Yeah.
It's
I think that's probably the most like impressive set piece the series has ever done, and probably it's one of the best stunts in action movie history, I would say. And I think some people would still have the Burj Khalifa climb from Ghost Protocol ahead of this.
Yeah.
You know, because again, Cruise also did that. But I think this is so impressive because this really, you know, like a lot like transformative acting roles get lauded, right? Whether it's someone like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, you know, really succumbing to the elements and being out there as Inarritu films him, basically freezing his ass off, right? Or you have something like Christian Bale where he loses like 100 pounds for The Pianist or something like that, right? This Cruise learned how to fly a helicopter in like 5 weeks, doing 16-hour days. He would have 2 crews with him because the only, you know, 2 8-hour shifts. He was doing 2 8-hour shifts for 6 weeks to learn how to fly a helicopter, and it's just like that kind of dedication. There's not enough done about it. You know, like a lot of people like to clown on Cruise because of like the Scientology shit, and like he has had some weird personal things with his marriages. Like not denying that. But his dedication to his craft is so, you know, impressive. And like and let's not forget, he broke his ankle making this movie, and that shot's in the film.
Yeah,
like when he jumps across the building when he's running on the roofs, and he almost misses. He breaks his ankle, and he realizes he needs to finish the shot. He climbs up, and you see him do that limp for the first time in the movie. He limped. Oh, he's hurt. Oh, because he actually broke his fucking ankle. Yeah. And he finished the shot, and they went on an 8-week hiatus. And, you know, they had to pay the crews the whole time, so they didn't take another job, obviously. And then McQuarrie just started editing what they had while Cruz recovered. But like his dedication to this movie, like they're gonna keep making these, obviously, given the critical and commercial success of Fallout. But like I hope he doesn't fucking die doing this because he's already done a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when you think about stunts in movies that actors actually do, I think Cruz is probably like top 3 from just Mission Impossible movies alone. Just unbelievable.
And he's 56. It's not like he's young.
Yeah, I know. It's funny to see like all the roles that certain people were playing at his age, and then Tom Cruise looks like he could be like 40, 45. Dude just doesn't age at this point. He ages, but in like the most graceful way you've ever seen. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, why don't we talk a little bit more about what we liked about Cavill? I mean, obviously, yeah, he plays August Walker, and he's this huge guy, and basically he's introduced as this just like he could give you one punch and it could kill you kind of person. But really, I think what made it good was the way that he kind of played spoiler alert, the heel turn in this. Like the whole time you're kind of like, is this more of a Jeremy Renner, like he's going to be a sidekick to Cruz, or is this? And then eventually he ends up being a villain, kind of like most people in these movies too. Cruz,
right? And like from the trailers, like there's that money shot of him like holding like the M60, the minigun, right?
Yeah,
and the helicopter. So I'm like pretty sure he was shooting at Cruz there, but why? So like I figured something happened, but yeah, I think it's just like the most like multi-layered role Cavill's done. Like Cavill's done some good stuff. I mean, he was on The Tudors, and I liked Immortals. I thought he was really good with Armie Hammer and Man from U.N.C.L.E., right? And he's not my problem with Superman. I think, you know, the Superman DCU's issues have been more with writing and plotting than Cavill. I think Cavill's good as Superman. But this, I mean, he's just given a lot more to work with than I expected. Yeah, I was expecting more of him to be more like Renner's brand. who, by the way, didn't come back for this because he had scheduling conflicts with Infinity War, the movie he wasn't in. So good answer. But yeah, he's given a lot to do, both action wise and carrying the plot. He is an integral to the plot. And then when he has the heel turn, I think it's a really well constructed twist, a nice callback to the masks that have been throughout the series. And then when he becomes the full villain, he just fucking takes it to another level. Yeah. So yeah, I thought he was incredibly effective, and that this is really fun movie too, because this is the first Mission Impossible movie that actually feels connected to a previous film, right? Like obviously characters have come back, like Ving Rhames
has been in almost every single one.
Ving Rhames has been in every one because he had a cameo in 4,
right? And
Cruise obviously is in all of them, but then like Michelle Monaghan comes back a little bit as his ex-wife, right? And then Elsie Foss comes back from Rogue Nation, and then so does fucking Solomon Lane, the bad guy of Rogue Nation. He's actually integral to this plot. Right. So it actually felt like a world we had been in, and they were just building on this world. Like Alec Baldwin comes back again, then they bring in Angela Bassett and bring in Cavill, and like it was a level up to me. I was so impressed, and again, that's despite the fact, separate from the fact that it's so entertaining and so ridiculous with these amazing stunts that are real stunts. It's just so well choreographed, both in the air and the car chase. Again, that Paris car chase was money too, with the motorcycle. When it goes around the fucking arc. Like, oh man, wonderful action.
Yeah, the action is amazing, but I also really liked the moments that they gave each of the characters, and especially, if you watch the first couple, they had these top-notch actresses, and they didn't really utilize them. And I feel like the actresses got a lot more to do. Like Vanessa Kirby in this one as White Widow was fantastic and electric. Every time she was on the screen, I couldn't look away from her, and she just stole every scene she was in. I love Rebecca Ferguson as Elsa. I think she's a great character, and you start to learn a little bit more about her motives and what she's trying to accomplish. And then you get to see Michelle Monaghan come back, and she's playing this doctor in a different country, and really adds this emotional weight to the last scene, and adds another level of stakes to it. I mean, you're saving the world from nuclear war, which is high enough stake as is, but then really trying to save your Ethan's wife. Just some really great things. And Ving Rhames, who for the whole series has kind of been put on the shelf, just kind of in the van, playing the conscience. Yeah, in the van, literally. Gets to be carry a lot of the emotional heft to the movie, which I thought was a really smart choice and really well deserved. He's put a lot of work into this.
Definitely.
I mean, there's a lot of really, and Simon Pegg also with. I thought he brought a lot of levity to the scenes he was in.
That's why he's there, and he's good at it. I think they probably gave Benji more to do in some of the earlier ones, since he came in with Ghost Protocol. But he's still effective. And another scene, we talk about the action so much because obviously it's the selling point. But early on, when they have that fake out with the nuclear weapons with Wolf Blitzer, right? And fake the whole hospital room in the news reading, little fake news, right? That kind of gave, and with the mask of Wolf Blitzer, that gave me more like Mission Impossible 1 vibes.
Yep.
Or espionage, trickery aspect to it. They call it back to the mask again when they finally out Cavill.
Yep.
So it was and again, they can keep this story going with the Apostles because we still don't know much about those villains. They just keep building on it. So I'm really looking forward to the next one. But in the meantime, I would love to see this again. But honestly, one of the big winners that no one's really talking about for this is Paramount. This is Paramount's film, and Paramount, of course, their big money maker has been Transformers, which is coming out next year. In December. Bumblebee, a smaller scale one with Haley Steinfeld, and they took Transformers 7 off the calendar. So Mission Impossible could be their biggest franchise moving forward at the moment. So they're happy that it's getting critical attention and doing well. Again, a franchise best opening weekend. So good win for Paramount. They needed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go see this film. If you like action films, if you like fun, I think just go enjoy it. Turn your brain off a little bit and enjoy this just for the amazing action like we talked about. And
again, it's not just dumb action the way Fast and Furious. I think it's very smart, very calculated the way it affects the plot,
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I didn't mention before, but I think makes these films good, is that they bring in elements of different types of stories that are really intriguing. They have a mystery element in almost every single one, trying to figure out the whodunit or who's who at any given time. They have heist scenes in certain ones. So the Mission Impossible franchise in general is it's action, but it can bring a lot more to the table. yeah, depending on what you really want to get out of it, you can get that. I mean, even at points like love stories. So I
Did
think
the
that's the weakest part. But
did the end get you the fake out with the nuclear mushroom cloud slash just being the sun? Did that fake you out? It got me for a second. I was like, oh fuck, they did that.
I mean, if they had done it, it would have been the ballsiest move. I mean, they're pretty much just like ending the franchise right there because they're killing off all the main characters. No, one of the things I always laugh most at in these is just the amount, like how time passes in that film universe. I mean, the 15 minutes and they rode a helicopter, had like a 10-minute fight on a cliff, and
there's a scene that under it, this scene's happening, right?
Yeah,
and that's another thing that like there's some common things throughout the series. There's the cold open. Rogue Nation, he literally boards a plane from the outside, right? And this one has it again, right before the title card. They actually do like a traditional sequence, kind of like James Bond. And then there's also the race against time at the end. This one literally got done the last second.
What was it? Ghost Protocol, where they have to get somewhere like a minute 30. They need to go like 3 miles, and he's like, "We can make it." And you're like, I was like, "No, you literally can't. Nothing on Earth can get you there that fast." But Ethan finds a way, man. Like he always does.
So, that being said, are you stoked for Tom Cruise's next role coming out next July? Do you know what it is?
I'm not aware. Is it Live, Die, Repeat? Sequel?
Not Edge of Tomorrow 2, which I don't know if there's any movement on that. No, it's Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, right. Actually, I didn't know that.
Cruise is back as Maverick. Val Kilmer's back as Iceman. And a hotly coveted role, Miles Teller is Goose's son.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see it for sure. It's interesting. I don't know how much I really want to. Yeah, I don't know how much I want to see a fighter pilot movie, but just those three in general, I'll watch.
And I think that's what the plot's about the lack of necessity for plane-to-plane combat in today's world. I think that's kind of the crux of the film.
Right. So, no, it'll be interesting. I mean, pretty much anything Cruise is in is going to be good. I mean, like you said, he dedicates more to the roles he does than almost any other actor. So
yeah, well, it's interesting because this is his only franchise that's really worked, right? Like Jack Reacher, the second one totally bombed critically and commercially, and that's probably over. The Mummy didn't do very well in the whole Dark Universe franchise from Universal. Was DOA, right? Then he made like American Made last year, which wasn't a franchise film, but it was critically reviewed, but didn't do as well at the box office. So it's weird that like he's kind of like struggled to make more of those franchise films. And like Edge of Tomorrow like really stands out as something, right? And like he had Oblivion, which was like I can say like a near miss in that regard, but still good. So I don't know. It's weird watching his career now where he has, I mean, this is his second biggest opening weekend behind War of the Worlds. He has not had $100 million opening weekend in his whole career, which sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
But like one last thing, do you think you can make Mission Impossible without Tom Cruise? That they tried, whether officially or not, with Renner, and that obviously didn't work out. Do you think you could do it? I think he's so synonymous with Ethan Hunt and like his ability to do all these stunts. In theory, you could continue it, but would anyone be as interested?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that when I was driving home yesterday, and I was trying to think of a franchise that's really handed it off and it's done well. You think about Indiana Jones, they kind of had Shia LaBeouf and they attempted to hand off with that one a little bit, and that didn't really land. And I can't really think of a franchise where it's gone well. So I'd probably say right now, no. But if you found the right person to kind of be his underling and see, the hard part about it is like Star Wars, they basically were like, this is the next 3, and these are the people you're following, and Luke and Leia are tertiary characters, and they just made the decision for you. But if you go about it and you're like, let's see how this person tests out, and the other person's still there as the main character, people are always going to want that person to be it.
Yeah.
It's almost like they kind of need to make a choice with it. I don't know who would be the right person to take it over. I go to Joel Edgerton comes to mind as somebody, but he might be a little too old. So maybe
he's in his 40s.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's the thing too. It's like a lot of like American. There's not a lot of like super hot American young actors. Right. A lot of them are British kids, and either way, like a lot of like the hot young actors, they take a while. Like Miles Teller's already in his 30s. But the people he's competing with this were like Nicholas Hoult and like Dylan O'Brien, the kid from The Maze Runner, right? Like it's weird seeing the kind of inability for young actors like that to really catch on with these franchises. So I don't know. It's interesting.
What if it was Taron Egerton, but they go to like the British side of it, whatever that is.
I like Taron Egerton, but we'll see. I'm not hopeful about that Robin Hood film he's in after the trailer. So
he might need to do a franchise then.
True.
We'll see.
Well, they're making Kingsman 3, so love that still.
I saw Kingsman 2 recently, by the way. It was enjoyable. I mean, it was fine.
That's shit that can get ridiculous for sure.
Oh, I mean that's absurd. But talk about suspending belief.